Good evening and welcome to the October 2013 edition of Curriculum Connection. I'm Medford's Curriculum Director, Laura Lundy. Tonight we are going to take a closer look at the new Common Core state standards and how the Medford School District has embraced the change. Directions, instructions, owner's manuals, what do these things have in common? All of these documents help a person get a task done. In the case of education, the Common Core standards in math and reading have given a clear direction, something our teachers have been asking for years. Even kids know that in order to build something correctly, you need directions. What do you need in order to build this correctly? Mara?
The manual.
The manual.
Where it's instructions.
What's better, having the directions or not having the directions?
Having the directions.
Why?
Because then you get it correctly. You don't want to play with anything that's not correctly.
And what would you say if I said you can't have any directions to put this truck together?
That would be a problem.
For years, the United States has been lagging behind other countries in international test scores. A recent global study by Boston College has identified a set of school conditions that correlate with higher student achievement. Topping the list is that teachers understand the curricular goals. In other words, if teachers know what they have to teach, and they teach it well, student achievement increases. Although this seems to make common sense, it has never been an easy task. Jane Hanel, math coordinator and former elementary teacher, says that before the original state standards came out in 1998, teachers relied on textbook companies to tell them what to teach. That is, before 1998, and the model academic standards came out, what did you use as a teacher to teach English and math and social studies?
We used the textbook. Whatever the textbook had in it was what we thought we were supposed to teach. And I remember there was, we'd have grade level discussions and we'd say, oh, we did this or I did this, and well, you can't do that. That's not in the book.
Then in 1998, the model academic state standards in math and reading came out for teachers. This first set of standards made the task of knowing what to teach easier. But with anything, this document needed improvement because there were too many standards and they were not grade specific.
When I got to second grade, I noticed that our report cards were 6 or 7 pages long because there were so many standards that we were trying to meet.
And I remember back doing this other stuff with the other standards, one of our teachers had said, just tell us what we need to teach. We'll decide how to teach it best, but someone else should be telling us what to teach. That shouldn't be our job. So finally, with the Common Core, it's like, here it is. Now we know what we are responsible for.
3 years ago, the National Governors Association and Council of State School Officers realized that coming up with a set of common standards across the states was what teachers needed in order to be successful. Therefore, in 2010, they gathered together the expertise and experience of educators across 48 states to develop the Common Core standards in reading and math. Wisconsin led the country in adopting this new set of Common Core reading and math standards that were clearer, higher, and grade-specific, and Medford teachers, like other Wisconsin teachers, embraced them.
I realized with the Common Core standards that there are fewer standards, but with my experience from last year's math, we're going into it in a lot more depth. And reading also now with the guided reading groups, we're trying to really get students to more analyze and critique what they're reading instead of just learning to read in second grade and comprehending some of the basic facts. Now we're just digging a lot deeper into that.
We just like how it's so explicit. We definitely know each grade, and we know what, like I said, what they're lacking, and if they're lacking, what they missed before that. And we also know what we do have to prepare them for the next grade. So we look ahead, the progression is there. It's so much mental. It's a lot of thinking mathematically, that before we taught the students how to do it, but not how to think about it.
Last year, Medford adopted a new Common Core math textbook in grades 6 through 8.
This book is it's a lot smaller for one, and we go through, it takes us about 2 to 3 days to get through each lesson. I think the book is quite a bit harder than the last book that we had. We go into things more specifically than we did before, where the other book that we just had, we we do a lesson one day, we'd be done, and we go on to the next.
Opposition to the Common Core standards has now emerged. In August, members of the Tea Party wrote an open letter to Governor Scott Walker asking that Wisconsin rescind their endorsement of the Common Core standards. One of the Tea Party's 11 reasons why Wisconsin should eliminate the Common Core standards is that the Common Core state standards compliant materials communicate a collectivist worldview. After studying and implementing the reading and math Common Core standards for 3 years, the teachers interviewed could find no evidence of this claim.
Is there anything in the Common Core math standards that could be at all controversial?
Not for math, I don't think. We have over here on my board, I have all the standards for math up there so that kids can see them and I can look at them and kind of get back in, know what I'm doing all the time during my lessons. So I think it's pretty straightforward.
To prove this point, one just needs to read the standards to find out they're very neutral. For example, a 6th grade ELA standard asks students to write an argument to support claims with clear reasons and relevant evidence. And a 1st grade math standard asks students to count to 120.
They're hard. That would be probably why some teachers are against them, because it's not just skills. It is changing the way we think about learning and about all of our subject areas. But no, I think they're great.
Another argument presented in the letter to Scott Walker states that the Common Core testing will frustrate young children and under-challenge older children.
Yeah, I think there's always frustration. We did some reading surveys or assessments already this fall, and we're finding with the new Common Core that yes, there are a lot more students that are considered not meeting the benchmark in 2nd grade, but now we know what the benchmark is and it's clearly spelled out, and I think with the help of the new Common Core direction, we will eventually get there.
So we're going to have kids that will be frustrated with it, just like we did in the past, and we'll have staff that will be frustrated with it, like we did in the past. But now, as a district, we know where we want kids to be, and we can bring in intervention programs, we can bring in gifted and talented programs to move kids beyond the standard or get them towards the standard in the first place. So at least we have that marking point. That's what the Wisconsin State Standards brought in, and now I think the Common Core has taken it one step further and did it by grade level and became much more specific.
Many of the arguments that the Tea Party has against the Common Core standards are unrelated to the standards themselves, but actually related to other federal legislation. For example, the Tea Party claims that the Common Core standards places profound emphasis and dependence on testing, reducing current instruction time by approximately 1/3. Although claims about the loss of instruction due to the amount of testing may have some merit, this is not due to the adoption of the Common Core, but is required by the federal legislation called the No Child Left Behind Act, signed into law by President George Bush in 2002. This September, Governor Walker stated that Wisconsin could do better than the Common Core. If that is indeed true, the question would be, how? Elementary Principal Dan Miller says that most likely the Common Core would be the starting point.
And so I think the state of Wisconsin would work toward developing their own standards, but they're not going to be a lot different than what we have in the Common Core or what the state one was. The state standards were a little broad. This has kind of narrowed it in. So the Wisconsin would have to spend a lot of time, our district as well, would have to spend a lot of time working on narrowing in the state standards. And we'd probably use the Common Core as the guide because it's already there, and why create a new wheel.
That we have some of the greatest minds in the country in education who have worked on these. I think of Lucy Hawkins, and these are big names in education. And if they have worked on this, I think they know what they're doing. And if we could do it, why haven't we done it before this?
Teachers are finding that the new Common Core standards are not only clearer, but because there are fewer of them, they have more time to go deeper.
I think the kids kind of like this actually better because you have more time to work on it. They understand the concepts better. We do a lot more pre-algebra in this book than we did in the other book also. So it's really preparing our students to go to algebra when they're in high school.
If Wisconsin decides to change direction and eliminate the Common Core, it would be like asking a child to build a Lego without giving them the directions. And as the children I talked to stated, that wouldn't be so great.
What would you say if I said, you have to build this whole Lego, but I'm not going to give you any directions?
Are you serious?
For Curriculum Connection, I'm Laura Lundy.